Hey, you, come here. No, closer, closer. Okay, perfect. Now I know that I'm not great looking, but it's still probably better for you to be looking at me than that thing over there. Wait, where are you going? Come back, come back. Hey, come back. This monstrosity, I mean vehicle, sitting just on the edge of the frame is our long-term 2022 BMW iX, and it's been with us for just over a year and about 12,000 miles. This might be the first time that you're hearing about our iX, and there are a few reasons for that we're going to get into later, but the biggest one is it's been kind of boring to live with in the best possible way. Our fleet that has a lot of electric vehicles in it, and those vehicles, they've had a lot of troubles. But even though it feels like we've had 99 problems with those vehicles, the iX ain't one.
The reason I dig the iX so much is because it's been the most reliable EV we've had in our fleet. The Rivian's had problems, the Lucid's had issues, but the BMW remains so easy to get in and live with because it always works. You can count on it, it's reliable, it's a comfortable place to be, and it's a lovely thing to drive. And it gets great range. All that put together, and that means that the iX has been one of our favorites overall. It's awesome.
What immediately stands out about the iX, or I guess I should say sticks out, is its Cyrano de Bergerac-like schnoz.
Well, tell me, why are you staring at my nose?
Oh, I was not staring.
The funny thing about this vehicle is that it's not just ugly from the front, it's also ugly from here, and even here. It's just kind of, all around.
Is the BMW iX ugly? Yeah, but it's ugly from every angle, so that actually kind of makes it good.
But as I like to say, you can't actually see the outside when you're driving, and strangely, this interior is actually gorgeous from pretty much every angle. Like this one, and this one, and even this one. All right, that's enough of that.
These seats are not only some of the most comfortable seats I've ever sat in, but they are my favorite heated seats of any car I've tested ever. It's very specific, I know, but it's the mix of like having that Alcantara at your back. They heat so quickly. We also have the optional heated panels, so all your elbows and forearms are nice and toasty as well. If you're not actively driving, it is an incredible place to take a nap.
I think that in particular, this dashboard is lovely. The way that it's pushed back to give you a sense of space, but then these screens are pushed forward so that you can reach them easily. All this is just kind of so good that it gives you whiplash because you climb out of the car and you're horrified. And then you climb back in and suddenly you're in this luxurious interior with excellent materials and an aesthetic that's futuristic without feeling overwhelming. Mercedes. Even this oddly shaped hexagonal wheel, I kind of dig it. For a two-row SUV, the iX is quite large, and I really like that. Instead of turning this into something with like kind of a tiny third row that's only fit for kid or dungeon duty, keeping it as a two-row means that you get tons of passenger space and also a lot of cargo space. I got to use the iX for the week of my wedding last year, and I can personally attest that you can easily fit $1,500 worth of flowers into this cargo area. And it's also big enough to swallow up luggage, golf clubs, anything else you really need to throw at it, even myself. Oh! If we have a complaint about the iX's interior, it has less to do with the iX itself and more to do with BMW's iDrive system that powers this screen here and the cluster here. Now, this system, very powerful. You can actually dive very deep into it to set up the vehicle just the way that you like it. But it is very reliant on this screen, and because of that, there's not a lot of physical controls down here, so you end up having to almost overuse the screen even to do really simple things. Let me show you what I mean. So even for something as simple as turning on the heated seats on a cold day, there isn't a button for that anywhere to be found here. You have to go into the screen, and then you have to wait for that to pop up, and you kind of have to do this. That one's not too bad, but for something like, let's say, follow distance with the adaptive cruise control. So this vehicle has adaptive cruise control, and normally you'll find a button for that on the steering wheel. But in the BMW, if you want to change your follow distance, you got to go here, here, go down to, let's see, driving settings, I think driver assistant, distance control, and then you can change all that. And instead of having a button on the steering wheel that you can just hit, you have to go, I think, what was that, 5 screens in, and then you can finally change it. Now, the one thing that the iX does have going for it, its voice commands are awesome. So if you do want to do some of these things, you can actually just do them with your voice. So I could say, hey BMW, turn on the driver's heated seat.
Okay, I'm activating the driver's seat heating.
So that's not that hard, but a button's just easier, isn't it? One thing about the system that we do really like though, it does smartphone integration really well. So wireless connectivity for both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. And as you can see, it just takes up the entire screen and looks great. And the other cool thing is that if you have a destination inputted here in Google Maps, you can actually mirror that map view in the cluster, and that frees up the screen to be used for other things.
The annoyance that I had was that the gesture control sensor is located right above the transmission. So whenever I was trying to reach for the transmission, inevitably a track would skip forward or rewind back, and I just had to turn it off. It was aggravating.
One more thing about the iX I really like, this big glass roof. Now there are other EVs out there that also have big glass roofs, but the nice thing about this one is there's a button up there and you can control the opacity. So that means that your passengers don't have to be baking, but they can also get a bunch of light in the cabin. So no aftermarket shades or tint needed in the BMW. Other than that, this thing checks like all the boxes. This interior is luxurious, spacious, comfortable. It's just sublime. From behind this oddly shaped steering wheel, driving the iX is a nice, if not very entertaining experience. It's got plenty of power, 516 horsepower coming out of that dual motor all-wheel drive system, and that means it's pretty quick in a straight line, but the steering feel is very light. And it feels that way no matter what drive mode you're in, and that sort of puts a ceiling on the entertainment factor, but it's just very nice car. Everything about it feels really well calibrated, from the regenerative braking to the throttle mapping. It kind of just behaves the way that you think that it should. And that's not something that you can say about all the EVs on the road today.
So we had the xDrive 50, and honestly, I don't think you need the M60 given how well this thing drives. It's quick, it still handles really well, and you get significantly more range for less money. Yeah, man, the iX is just really pleasant behind the wheel.
All this goodness is really unsurprising when you consider that when we acquired our long-term iX, it was tied for the highest rating of any electric SUV. And that's a title that it held up until very recently, when it got surpassed by our latest Edmunds top-rated electric SUV and best of the best winner, the Kia EV9. My personal favorite thing about driving the iX is how comfortable it is. So our vehicle comes with the optional air suspension that helps it to really just sort of smooth out any road imperfection, and that combined with these very comfortable front seats means that you can drive the iX comfortably on any kind of long trip. And that's a good thing because this thing has a ton of range. We put another iX that was identical to this vehicle mechanically, so same wheel, same powertrain and everything, on the Edmunds EV range test, and it covered 377 miles, a figure that's made even more impressive when you consider that the EPA rating for this vehicle is only 315 miles, so it just blew way past that. Also impressive about the iX is how fast it can jam power back into that 106.3 kilowatt hour battery. So on the Edmunds EV charging test, we had a peak charging rate for this vehicle of just under 200 kilowatts. So it's putting power back in pretty quickly as well. On top of all those other nice things, perhaps our favorite thing about the iX has been that it just works. Sometimes it feels like all the other vehicles in our EV fleet have suffered from some kind of major issue that's taken them out of commission. But for the iX and also our long-term Ford Mustang Mach-E, those two vehicles, they've been pretty bulletproof, and the sad thing is, they're both leaving us. And for more details on all of our EVs, head over to our long-term blog, link in the description. In fact, the only times that the iX has been unavailable to us has nothing really to do with the vehicle itself. There was an unfortunate incident with some debris on the highway, and it also had to step away for a recall repair for a day, but other than that, it shows up for work every day and it just gets the job done.
The iX was a great car. We had it for a while. It didn't require much to keep it running. It did have an airbag recall. Took it in for service, and the nice thing is that they called me an Uber home.
It's a bit weird to talk about the iX because this is basically a one-off vehicle for BMW. A big reason that we bought a Chevrolet Blazer EV is that the Ultium platform underneath that vehicle is going to make its way under a lot of future EVs, be they from GM or even other automakers. But for the iX, the platform that's underneath it is bespoke to the iX. is going to be in this vehicle, and it's not going to be used at all going forward. Now, that doesn't really seem to be a problem for BMW because the i5 on a different platform took home a top rated award from us recently, and we also got to look at BMW's other future EVs that are going to be on a different platform in the form of the Neue Klasse concept, which Clint got to see last summer, and those look very intriguing. And let's go ahead and leave those on the screen for a little bit because they're also much prettier than the iX to look at.
The iX, it is my favorite long-term car currently in our fleet. As a family of 4 with 2 young kids, it's really the perfect blend of space. It's quiet, it rides extremely well, so I can fit everything I need for my 2 kids. Everybody's comfortable, and it's fast, so what more do you need?
As you can tell, our logbook is full of positive comments about the iX, and it's been boring to live with in the absolute best way. It always works, it always starts up, you don't have to worry about the key fob or anything. It's just been a really solid, hardworking member of our fleet, and we're gonna be sad to see it go. Although, with a face like that, I probably won't want to watch it leave. Thanks for watching. This is 2 Gregor, take 1. 2 Gregor, Mark, take 1. 2 Gregor, take 1, Mark.